Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting. This evening, we'll be seating Gary Belke in for Fred Dykeman, and we also have Ryan Deasy, Chuck Sheehan, myself, Ben Philbrick, Lynn Conway, here's Gary, and our alternate tonight is Andy Meek. Is there a motion on the minutes from June 6th?
Approval of minutes number 1728 for June 6, 2023, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there
Seconded.
Thank you, Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Clifton, we'll move right into 5.1, nomination and appointment.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Is there a nomination for vice chair to replace Fred Dykeman?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Chuck.
I nominate Ryan Deasy to serve as our vice chairman. Since joining the commission as a regular member over 3 years ago, Ryan has demonstrated a very solid knowledge of our zoning and subdivision regulations, TPZ protocols, and process. I have great confidence that he can lead a meeting in your absence. He's always well prepared for every meeting, and his attendance has been exemplary.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'd like to close the nominations. Is there a motion?
Move the nomination, Mr. Chairman, for Ryan Deasy.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Welcome to the vice chair.
Congratulations, Ryan. Thank you. Thanks for your service. Thank you.
Next item is yours, Clifton.
Thank you. So the first item under the administrative review is a resolution on outdoor dining authorizations. This is just a continuation of what the commission has passed at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. They passed a temporary policy to remove the zoning enforcement restrictions to allow outdoor dining. And basically this is just a continuation of that as recommended by staff, and after speaking with both Susan and Danielle regarding basically the new legislation that came out, both Public Act 22-1 and 22-118. So what's been provided is just a draft resolution to continue that allowance until June 30th, 2024, and then afterwards, basically all those outdoor dining provisions would have to come through the standard process of receiving approval through the commission.
And will Candy Palmer be monitoring that?
She will,
Zoning
yes.
enforcement officer?
Yep.
Give us the list or, okay.
Yep, the previous policy back from 2020 gave her the authority to stamp those temporary provisions.
Right.
And so she would just be continuing that role and basically just doing the enforcement of that until the new date, or the sunset date.
Alrighty. Do I hear a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written and submitted.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Chuck. Is there further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Alrighty. Public hearing time.
Pursuant to General Statutes of State of Connecticut Revision of 1958 and all amendments thereto, and pursuant to the zoning regulations of the Town of Stonington, Connecticut, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby gives notice that it will hold a public hearing at the Stonington Board of Education District Office, 40 Field Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, on Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. on the following application. Public hearing, PZ 2307 SUP and GPP Mystic Sahan, and I might have I might have mispronounced that, sorry. Special use groundwater protection permit applications for construction of a new 80-room hotel, 40,000 plus square feet, with associated landscaping and parking. Property located at 321 Liberty Street, Pawcatuck. Assessors Maps 17, Block 3, Lot 4, Zone HI 60. And this is to be continued from the May 16th hearing.
Thank you, Lynn. Did you ever watch the tape from that night?
I don't think so,
Okay.
no.
So I'll have to see. You won't be able to
That's
vote,
absolutely
but you can
fine.
have input. All righty. Yes, this will be a continuation, so any new evidence or not, items presented will be open for the public to discuss. Seated this evening will be Ryan Deasy, Chuck Sheen, myself, Ben Philbrick, and Gary Belkey, who is here on the first one, May 16th. And Lynn and Andy will be able to ask questions as alternates, I suppose, but not be able to vote. There is a sign-up sheet at the front door for those who would like to comment during the public speaking part of the hearing. Then there will be a rebuttal by the applicant if necessary, staff input, board questions. Close it and hopefully get to a vote this evening. Sergio, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Sergio Cerenzia with Cerenzia & Associates, offices at 99 Mechanic Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. The plans and application before you this evening were prepared by my office and my responsible charge, and I am a licensed, registered professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. With me here this evening is Mukesh Patel, the owner of the property, and one of my associates, Rachel York, an engineer who worked on the plans that are presented to you this evening. Just as a point of order, Clifton, do you need to do any summary, or is it just the floor is mine? I can go right ahead. Okay. If it's okay with the commission, Clifton had sent us commentary from our last meeting. I can follow through on just addressing those items, so we don't have to go through a whole presentation again.
Right, because we had asked you several items to address.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Right.
Correct.
Good. Thank you.
So I will stick to those items, but if there's other questions or commentary, happy to oblige. The first item, I believe Mr. Sheehan wanted some clarification on the retention versus a detention basin. We have submitted to the commission, and as part of our submittal, a summary, because this basin, and I'll just bring up just this plan here. I don't know if they can, we have it hooked up, but I think it needs to be changed over. There we go. Thank you. So the stormwater basin in question was the existing basin located, let's get my orientation, to the east, which, to remind you, also takes the stormwater from Tractor Supply development. So because we didn't develop that stormwater, that stormwater design, Mr. Sheehan asked if we could just give a summary of what that is. To the point of his question, it is a detention basin that treats the water quality volume through retention and detention. And the larger storms are detained and then discharged to a level spreader located east of that. And I believe we submitted also a summary of an inspection, which I'll get down to in some of another comment that was provided to us. But that level spreader, I actually found it out in the field, took photos of it. It's actually a pretty interesting design where it's 4x4 concrete galleys that are exposed about halfway up that act as a level spreader so that the water comes out at that same elevation, but also gets some infiltration and treatment in that system. So it was a pretty neat design that I had not seen before, but is incorporated into this. We're going to be discharging to that system, which acts to treat water quality as well as maintain the pre-development discharges, post-development discharges to pre-development levels. The nightscape renderings, I believe that those were submitted. I can bring those up though. Just for the benefit of everyone. And the ones they print, the ones printed probably don't come out as crisp as what you're going to see here. So these are the night sky. I believe, Mr. Chair, that you had requested that we show what it looks like at night with the dark sky. So I'll remind you that these the signage, although that's the intent, is not being permitted. This is just for rendering purposes. The intent is for that backlit and the size, but we'll have to come back for a zoning variance, most likely to obtain the size of the signs. We can only apply for ones that meet the zoning criteria for wall-mounted signs. But you do see the freestanding sign in front as well.
Thank you for providing those.
This is from the rear of the building. So as you know, the back is the front is the back. This is the entrance from the rear, from the parking lot. And then I believe this is from the other direction at the rear of the. So as you can see, it represents as 5 stories from the back and then 4 stories from the front as it's built into that hillside. We also met with the neighboring, we heard the neighbors' concerns. We've met with the neighbors. I believe they're here this evening. They may have some additional commentary. But going back to the site plan, one of the comments was, can we keep the stormwater from the property, on the property, at least along the, sorry, this is a little sensitive, along the southerly side of the building. So as such, we evaluated that, and I believe there's in our stormwater memorandum, we identify that there's a very minimal amount of water that crosses over the property. We're actually reducing the amount of stormwater contributing or passing over the property line, and then it travels right back onto the subject property, and then towards the intermittent stream on the south side of the property. As such, I believe what our goal was, instead of trying to grade in a swale in that location, and I'll try to zoom in here to let you know what we did here. It's a little tough to discern from this, but there's 2 very large trees, about 1 foot and 2 foot in diameter, as far as the trunk size, caliper size goes. And those are on the subject property, and for all intents and purposes, those could be taken down. However, we would rather, and I think our neighbors will concur, to keep those mature trees in place. Otherwise, we would have to take them down, regrade. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, just to keep the water on the property, which is going to end up there anyway. And by virtue of the fact that it's less water, or it's a reduced amount, we don't anticipate that there's going to be any issues or any adverse impacts to our property or the neighboring property. So in order to enhance the buffer, we're making the concession, or at least I think the better option is to leave the grading the way it is, because it does ultimately end up on the property anyway, and try to bolster this landscaped screen as best we can. We know we're not going to screen a full 4-story, 5-story building, but if keeping those mature trees there that are 30, 40 plus feet tall will hopefully help. The dumpster location has been relocated. I think it was on the last plan we showed at the last hearing, but now it's been memorialized and firmed up. since we were allowed to go back and make some changes, resubmit. So I do appreciate the commission's advisement on that, because it allowed us to cross the T's, dot some I's. But you can see the dumpster moved from the location, which was right up against the driveway here, and we moved it a little bit further back so that we could accommodate the fire access that was requested by the, required, or moreover, by the fire marshal and the fire chief. I can also bring up the landscape plan, because that, I believe that was a comment as well. To show that we have taken and filled that area with landscaping, put in the prerequisite, street trees or parking area trees rather, and we put in a fence around that dumpster as well, which shows up on our detail sheet. We were requested to provide a detail for the wall. That is located on our detail sheet. Just give me a moment, I can get there. So basically, let's see. Yeah, here we go. We're proposing a modular block type wall. So the wall facing, not facing any neighbors, not facing any folks that can see anything, we would probably just do a plain wall without any facade. But all the walls that are facing the neighboring properties, or neighboring property I should say, that wall would be facade or clad with something decorative. Even though there's going to be a lot of vegetation in front of it in the interim before that vegetation grows up. And I believe that is provided on the, there might be a detail on the landscape plans here.
Excuse me, Sergio, my eyesight isn't what it used to be on these small sheets. What's the height of the fence on top of the wall?
So the height of the fence is going to vary based on what the elevation of the ground is. So it'll vary, but I
What the height?
believe it's going to be 6 feet.
At the highest, it's 6 feet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that satisfy the fall protection requirement that the town engineer had?
I believe so. So once again, also with the fence, our neighbors requested that we do an opaque stockade type fence that doesn't have pickets, because originally we were going to just do I think it's a black picket fence. So once again, on the walls that are facing and are going to be more decorative, we'll put this solid vinyl fence so that you can't see through it. And that's the detail provided on the landscape plan. All the other fence, we have this this type of fence. It's got pretty standard black pickets, but you can see through it. So that'll be on the back side where you actually want to see through and maybe see out to the river potentially. So that addresses the walls, the barriers, the fence. We did add dust control to the soil sediment erosion control plan. We are sensitive that during construction, especially when it gets dry out, there the dust can get around. So we do have that plan in place as part of the plan set that will be approved with it. And then there was a question on if there was a place we could move the patio to other than where it was located. So we kind of toiled on where if we could move that space, but at the end of the day, we really just are. It's not a large space. Let's see if I can find. I think it's on the landscape plan. Hold on one second, please.
Well, I think it was the fire pit was the bone of contention, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's. I think it still shows. It might still show up on the landscape plan, but that is not going to be included. We just are going to basically we'll put maybe a picnic table out there, so that can be stipulated. No fire pit. There's not going to be a big sitting area out there. Just we could probably fit one. It's so small, a 6-person picnic table. You might be able to squeeze 2 in there, but that's about it. it's an extended stay hotel. I don't think there's going to be too many people hanging out outside. There's plenty of amenities in Stonington, Mystic, Westerly, where I don't think they'll be sitting out here causing a ruckus, drinking beers and the like. So, but Mr. Patel's here. He can attest to it. People aren't coming here to hang out outside. They're here to they come in, they stay the nights. They need a place to rest, to shower, to maybe cook a meal inside, given it's an extended stay once in a while. But for the most part, they're in and they're out because they're either there for business or there for pleasure and going to enjoy the amenities around our community. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. There's one before that. There's a few actually before that. We will get to that. I'm sorry?
Lighting plan?
We do have a lighting plan. I can show you that
I don't
as
have to
well.
go through it. I've seen it, and I
Yeah.
don't have any questions on it.
It's a pretty modest. I think
That
there's
was
three.
one of the things that was missing the last time.
There's 3 poles in the parking area, just tall enough to shed light and for safety and security. And then there's lights on the buildings, but we're limiting them to the first floor. The town engineer requested, or the peer reviewing engineer requested, we did an inspection. You'll see in your packets, there's I did a full inspection recently, took a bunch of photos. Long story short, the basin is way overgrown, there's a lot of debris, it needs to be cleaned out, and our plans cover any renovation of that basin that need to take place once someone gets in there and actually clears it out. If the functionality is ever compromised of that basin, then it needs to be, typically they will till it up and reseed it as needed.
Do you think there's other established trees down in there?
Oh yeah,
I mean, is that going to be an issue with the roots and all,
they have to be removed.
everything? Just,
Stumped, yeah, ripped out or stumped and grinded and those will have to be loamed and seeded. But there are some significant sized trees that
That's
have
what I
grown over
thought.
time. I think like
That was
6,
my concern,
up to,
Mr. Chairman, in finding out if it was detention or retention. Because with retention, there's a way for the water to pass through. This basin is already, a lot of the storage is displaced with junk. So until it's cleaned, there's got to be a way for water to pass through in an orderly manner. And I couldn't see the outlet structure. On my second trip out there, I did see the outlet structure, but I'm glad to hear that it's going to be clean. Thank you for that.
yeah, and that'll all take place. I think it's the first thing in construction that'll have to take place is getting that cleared out so you see what you're dealing with. I had to bushwhack through most of it. But some of the trees down there are significant size. I would say 6-inch caliper or more. It's grown up over time, but not my place to to assess. But I would tend to agree with you. Fall protection at the top of retaining walls we discussed is the fence. The retaining wall, we did add a note that will be engineered, stamped, signed. We typically don't do that at permitting, but it'll probably be some kind of usually if we do a modular block system, if they're big enough block, it's usually like a gravity wall, or there might be a grid system that holds that material back, holds the wall in and the material back. The town engineer requested a hydrodynamic separator. We have sized that. If anyone wants to see what that looks like or how it functions, I can explain. I got a video, whatever you'd like to see. But basically it's an extra level of treatment that is to remove, I believe, up to 80% of the total suspended solids, debris, oils, fats, and greases. And then when that usually captures the first 1 inch of runoff, that first flush, and then that system does have an overflow, so that all that material will stay put, and the water can overflow, and that can be cleaned out. But once again, all these things require maintenance, and it does need to be.
that's my next question. Is there a maintenance program that goes along with that separator
Yes, there is.
annually?
I'm not sure, but I don't know if we specifically put it on the site plans, but I believe a stipulation is that the town engineer needs to sign off.
Right.
We will add that into that, so that's a good point, thank you.
Perfect.
We could stipulate that a best management practices plan be developed for the site, and that would preclude what happened next door.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Thank you.
And then I believe, although I don't think I have it addressed in my comments, but your planner very diligently worked with the town attorneys. We really appreciate them getting back to us in a timely manner. But I believe it was determined that since the hotel does not transport, deliver, or have deliveries of hazardous materials, that the loading zones did not need to be roofed. That's only if you're dealing with an area that requires it. We did meet the letter of the regulation, however, to provide the loading zones that were required per the regulations. They're just not roofed. We anticipate we're only going to need the ones closest to the building, but we have provided the 3 that your regulations require.
What would you envision,
provided.
excuse me, would you envision like cleaning supplies would be about the most caustic things delivered?
Yes.
And that would typically be a cleaning service anyway, I assume, or?
I can consult with Michael.
Linen service, cleaning service
Cleaning service is the one on,
are the typical deliveries to
So the cleaning service is outsourced, excuse me.
right, so there's no tractor trailers delivering 200 gallons of ammonia or something. Right,
No, and there's no pool, no spa, no
Right.
hot tubs, no chemicals associated with that. So the most caustic thing is probably the same thing you're gonna find in a residential household.
right.
Unless, someone comes in to do some heavy deep cleaning, but that would not be stored on site.
Right, thank you.
I believe that is all I had, unless the commission has any questions for me, or if your planner wants to fill in anything that I missed, happy to oblige.
Are there any questions for Sergio at this time?
There was one other issue that was brought up, and I know the plans spare the signature and seal of an A2 survey, but you were gonna check the survey
Yeah.
of the driveway, which the adjacent owner claimed you were encroaching.
Right.
Has that been verified?
Yes, we went back and double checked. I consulted with my client's attorney, his closing attorney. I believe the abutter is here this evening. I believe she was or is consulting with her attorney as well. We obtained the deeds for both properties and verified that they read exactly the same, and that lot line is the distance and the departure, it all matches up. Now, whether there was some other agreement in place that I'm not aware of, but there's nothing on the land evidence records that would identify otherwise.
So we wouldn't have any, say in the adjudication of that, but it's, it was raised, and I wanted to make sure that you went back and verified it.
Yeah.
But it's between property owners. The town doesn't play a role in the adjudication of those matters, so.
My understanding, it's a civil matter. I'm not Mr. Patel's legal counsel, obviously, but my understanding of the situation is that it would be a civil matter. If it makes this commission more comfortable, if there was any lot line adjustment that happened to come up, it could be stipulated that we come back, because that may impact the setbacks to the building. So that was my concern going into this, but not so much that you would have to opine on it, but if that lot line were to shift, we may have to make some adjustments to accommodate it.
Correct.
I can tell you now that I don't think that's the case, but I believe the abutting neighbor is here. They may have some evidence otherwise, but I think we've done our homework on this now.
Thank you. Any other questions for,
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
No question.
I'll see if there's a sign-up sheet. Let's see. Terry Shiradio? I get it somewhat close? Thank you. Ah,
It's always pronounced incorrectly, so it's fine. Sergio is correct. We were talking about the line. Had concerns about that. I have the deed. I went through the deed. This was, of course, my family that had been that set the deed up with Ted Ladwig. I met with Ted. There was one line that we were not positive on. So it's the 7.17 feet to an iron pin. When I met with Ted, he suggested that I meet with the original surveyors that had done the plan, which is with the town that has been modified. I've reached out to them. They were hired by Tractor Supply originally when they did this plan. So they weren't our surveyors, so they're doing the best they can to get out to see what's there. Sergio did mark up the lines for us, which was great. We appreciated that, so we can see what's there. I'm not a surveyor. I can't check it, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. They said they're very busy right now, and they're going to do the best we can. So as long as this is something that would be handled after, that it's not set in stone if this is passed tonight, that the line is not correct, I just want to make sure that I have that, which would, I guess, be the civil. It's not anything to do with you.
It's between property owners.
Yep,
and-
okay, that's fine.
And, you know, we did what we could by asking the
Correct.
adjacent surveyor to go back and verify it, which he says he's done.
Yes,
And
and he
now
did
it's
come
a matter
back.
between property owners.
Okay, all right, so I'll be in touch with them just to see when they can get out, just to confirm. And it is 7 feet. I don't know, like, if that is a major problem for them, where they would have to change anything or not. I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
One of the other concerns I had voiced was the traffic. I know they said it's not pertaining, you know, to them for the business. It's the state road. It is monitored by the town, and everything is reported by the town. I did send out an email, which I believe you may have received, with the accident reports. Did that get sent?
I don't think it's in our package.
No, I don't know if it made it into the packets or not, but I do have the accident reports, and those are public record too, so.
Okay, yeah, because when we met the last time, it was that there was no accidents in front of tractor by the traffic engineer, which I lived there. I knew that was not true. So what I asked for was for Stonington Police to get me reports for the last 12 months from Lot 78, or the 78 off-ramp to Elmridge Road. And within that 12 months, which is a little over half a mile, there were 35 accidents in that area. So my concern is something needs to be done, whether it's the town, if it's the state, I don't know, but something in that area needs to be addressed, because we're continuing to add businesses to this as well, and it's not safe. I mean, I just wanted to put it on notice that I'm concerned about this. I know we've had our house blown out, the electricity came back in, we lost everything. So it's constantly, we had someone else get spun down into the side, almost into the water, the runoff on the side. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. Our mailbox we've replaced probably 4 times. So it's just something that I wanted to get, and I don't know if we have to go to the state or how it's addressed, but something needs to be done.
Yeah, I wish I could wave a magic wand for you, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's a state road,
Yep,
and we are powerless in this commission. If it was
Yeah.
a town road, we could work with the police commission and the fire district,
Right.
Now,
and we could
how
maybe
come
move a
it's
curb
handled by
cut,
the
but we really
town?
can't do anything. So the best thing is to go to your representative, go to
Yeah.
the police commission, and keep hounding them to bring it up to the state.
yeah, and why is the town handling it and not the state? Is that normal on a
It's a
state
state
road for
road.
the town to do it?
It's a state road, so
I know, but why is the state not handling the accidents and all that? Do they normally?
probably the first
The
responders.
state does become involved in just reviewing the driveway curb cut. If this were a larger development, it would trip a state traffic permit with OSTA, Office of State Traffic, and whatever the rest of it is. But then DOT would get involved, but it's not large enough to trip that kind of a review. In this case, the police commission did review it, and the Board of Police Commissioners found no issues regarding traffic, parking, or safety for this development, and approved the plan prior to it coming here. So that was on in April of 2023. So the commission has reviewed it
Okay,
and approved it. So that is where those comments, I think, would mean the most. It isn't that we're not listening to you, it's that
Yeah.
we're not the traffic authority for the town.
yeah, I understand that. I'm just
We're just
putting
looking for
out
the
what,
tree bark up,
yeah.
you know,
And
our concerns.
of course, our other concern is our property value. When this goes in, you know, my house is pretty much worth nothing for me to sell with this being beside me, so, and I'll address that again with the town.
It is a
that.
state, it is a state highway, and it's not bad to start with your local elected representatives and ask the state to look at it.
Yep,
They have a lot of clout in getting the state DOT to move in traffic calming measures. And I think clearly this is an area where traffic calming is required, and there's a lot that can be done on that road to create traffic calming that would deal with the situation that you're currently facing. So, you know, your state representatives and your state senators, you know, in the legislature are very effective in getting to DOT to get them to look at this.
okay, I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Dennis Maynard?
I think we just,
Oh, I see, okay, tag team. Okay, thank you.
we hit them all.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? General comments? Opposed? In favor? All righty. Clifton, would you have any input? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, do you have a rebuttal at all? Sergio?
Just with respect to the traffic, I think my traffic engineer isn't here, but I did review his report just quickly here, and the crash data was taken from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2023, and he does cite that there were 33 crashes along the corridor. And it's broken down in that report. So I think it's consistent with what Ms. Caradillo is identifying, that I think you said 35. So, and there's certain, but I believe it was taken through, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 different breakdowns that our traffic engineer did. So when you add all those up, yes, it does come up to that 35. I don't know how many off the top of my head happened in this direct vicinity, but it would be a fraction of that. We have no issue with, if there's evidence that there's an issue with the property line, we will work that out, hopefully as a civil matter, and if it impacts this application or this approved plan, we'll be back to adjust it accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clifton?
I had no additional questions or comments. I mean, Sam really did all the legwork in terms of getting this report together, so I just made sure it all got to you in the end. You know, one of the things I will say regarding the traffic piece too, this project didn't have a brand new curb cut made, which would have gone through a little bit more scrutiny at the DOT side if it was a brand new curb cut, but since it's utilizing an existing one, basically they don't go through another level of review because of that, because it's already in existence. So I'll just add that as well. So usually when DOT kind of looks at crash data, things like that, they look at number of pings for a total amount of accidents per year or per, 12, 24 months. And then that's when they start a review. So it's really just a statistic-based thing, but definitely reaching out to your representative and making it known is a lot more powerful than just looking at the statistics of it. But that's all I would add.
Mr. Chairman, just one more point. And this is just from past experience in dealing with OSTA and DOT. What resonates mostly with DOT in that stretch of roadway is not, the number of accidents is significant, but if any of them were fatal, that amplifies the concern tremendously. So make sure you know how many were fatal in your presentation to the Police Commission and to DOT.
With serious injuries also, it's a number of accidents with
Correct.
serious injuries.
And the zoning enforcement officer, we should include her stipulations perhaps in our voting?
Yeah, so one of the stipulations that Candy mentioned was the staff will be notified prior to the start of construction to inspect sediment/erosion control measures. That wasn't included in the draft stipulations, but that could be an additional one.
Thank you, Bob. Any other questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Do we hear a motion to close this?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion before closing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any discussion you'd like to talk about? Or?
Mr. Chairman, just one item. The applicant didn't object to including a best management plan for the site. There's a lot of sophisticated stormwater management, the hydrodynamic separator, the several other aspects of this drainage system that really require maintenance. And
Good point.
putting that into the approval gives the town engineer, if this changes hands, and I'm sure this owner will maintain it, the way that it should be maintained, but when it changes hands, if it changes hands in the future, the town engineer has something to give him some clout to go out and make sure that they're met. So I would add that as a 6th stipulation. So I guess it's the 4 that are listed on page 18, and the zoning enforcement officer, I think you mentioned one.
Please.
And I think those would come in the special permit approval, not in the first approval, the waiver.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a motion,
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion to approve the waivers requested. They're listed on page 15 of 20. Do you want me to name them?
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve the special use permit, subject to the 4 stipulations that are listed on page 18 of 20 of the report. Add the zoning enforcement officer stipulation and the stipulation that the owner submit a best management practices plan for this site to the town engineer. So 6 stipulations.
6 stipulations. Thank you, Chuck. Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion? Gary? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the groundwater protection permit, and I'm going to add the 6 stipulations because some of them do relate to stormwater management and overlap. And those 6 stipulations, again, for the record, 4 of them are listed on page 18 of 20, the zoning enforcement officer's stipulation and the stipulation on the best management practices plan for the site.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there a
Seconded.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. With no further business in front of us,
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
thank you,
Second.
Ryan. Thank you, Chuck. All those in favor?
Aye.